Hey guys, what's up? Alright. Denny back with the 32 build. Today's episode, we got a lot to go over. You can see I got a lot put together. So, start off with, I did finish up the Radiator Shroud. And it does have a radiator in it. I used a piece of a oil cooler off one of the cars at the shop. Kind of filled it. Got the straight axle done in the front with the links. So there's still a work in progress there. You can see the links there. And we got all the body scallops done with brake tubing. And I went a little off the wall here and made little drip rail moldings out of brake tubing also. I tacked them in underneath. You see, I haven't even worked the welds down yet. I tacked them in, and then I took a cutoff wheel and ground the tubing right in two, so it's a little drip rail molding there. Got the scallops on the back done. We do have a rear end in it now. The rear end I chose to use was the Sen GST rear end, because I wanted something that was independent to kind of give it that old Jag look back in the day. So the body's almost there. I just got to reshape the rear window. Got the cabaret top cut out, and I put a piece of fabric over this convertible top fabric that I have a couple of pieces of left from my convertible. And today's build, you can see there's this really old school General Tire here. Now this here was something that I kind of thought about for a little bit, and I had bought two of these in hopes of putting them on the Impala, because I wanted to do bias-belted tires on it, but I kind of got lost in the new Pro Touring look with it. But I mounted them on T-Max rims, okay? And to tell you what these are, they even say General on them, if you can read it. They're General Tire. These are actually replicas of real tires. If anybody's old out there and remembers General Tire, what they did, this used to be an ashtray. They used to mock these things up, and they made these clear up to even in the 80s. I think they quit making them with the gator backs. But the rear, I got the WCM slick from the 80s on here, just to give it that rat rod look. I got the motor setting in right now, and got some cross members and stuff built. These cross members here, to save weight, these are actually push rods out of a small block Chevy for your lifters. You know, your valve train you set over top of your lifters and go to your rocker arms. They're chrome moly steel, super lightweight, super strong. And you see, I got the old wagon wheel over there. I needed something to build with. I always use these things as a mock-up to build. And when I got the General Tire, you can see they're exactly the same size. And it just dawned on me, I still had these downstairs in one of my boxes. And they're made out of real rubber. And they're old though. They're wicked old. They're probably from like the 60s era, 70s era. So, like I say, I did make some headlight brackets too, because the 32 had a drop solid steel front axle on it that actually come up and mount it to your headlight bracket for your shocks, and that's for your hot rodders put springs on them, you know, coilovers, where the original ones had a leaf spring that came across underneath them. So I'm not using a leaf spring, I'm using a coilover shocks. And so I was working on headlights today. So I went to my local hobby shop, and it's Ray's Hobby in Warwick. These guys are wicked cool up there. They got, you know, stuff that you wouldn't even think about. I walked in there to buy a set of T-Max rims, because I'm still experimenting with a style of rim, because I don't want to get lost in the project, because I seriously started this, what, a couple of weeks ago, and it's almost there. It's almost done. And long story short, I was walking through Ray's Hobby, and I looked in their airplane section just by shits and giggles, and they got a 2.5-inch diameter spinner for your props on your planes, right? I'm looking at that. I'm like, you know what? The yellow caught my eye. They were all different colors: yellow, black, white, blues, and all the reds and all that. So my kid, he worked at Radio Shack, and he thought that he bought me a couple of lights, and I didn't really think I could use these lights for anything. They're just halogen, 12-volt lights. They're like a little floodlights, all they are. Okay. And so I looked at that, and I said, hey, what if I just cut it down a little bit, where I could make a chrome ring around it and put the headlight in it. And it has little slits on the side there. I had to grind out. I can use them for side marker lights or something, or I can fill them. So when you set this on here, they are the correct size for the 32 Ford headlights, because everybody converted these headlights up to the newer halogens. So that's where it's going to set. So this is kind of like the correct size for a 32 Ford. They had gigantic flat headlights in them, and if you remember, these set out here like this, and then they had an unhappy face as a crossbar from headlight to headlight that held them on. Well, the Milner coupe, they just brought up 2 brackets back here. They could have, they removed the ones up front with the unhappy face stabilizer bar in the front between the headlights. So, like I say, we're on the build here. This thing's almost ready to run, and as soon as I figure out my steering geometry in the front, I got to make steering knuckles for this axle, which is it's pretty straight up. And I'm going to use the original steering mechanism that they had back in the day. Now, it actually came out here, okay? This is the passenger side. It's actually on the driver's side. It exited the driver's side right here with just a simple, it was a steering box that went down and came out, and had an arm on it, and the arm moved back and forth to a lever come off this, and it moved the wheel this way so the wheel would turn. So when I was looking at these headers that came with the kit, I see there's a gigantic perfect opening right there in the header, because this is a Chrysler Hemi for the old super stock, altered Dodges and all that. So if you look at there's where my knuckle or my steering arm's going to be, right there, and it's going to come right through there, just like the real car. It's going to come back this way, and I'm going to put a servo right on the top of the frame down inside here. You can see my fingers in there, right there, sticking out, and just have a servo, bi-aluminum servo arm, and just use that to steer it, and it'll be straight up and forward. So you can see I did not lower it. I was going to, but these things just look snotty with a lot of attitude when they're jacked up in the air. And, they look cool when they're lowered and everything, but I wanted the old, high boy Milner look, and it's coming together, especially after I found the correct front tires for it, and I got the slicks for the back. Now I'll just make fenders for it, and finish scalloping my body lines on the very bottom. What I did for here, as you can see, it's a nice little piece of brake tubing. What I did is I just took the brake tubing and I just cut it in half, straight down the center, a nice straight edge on the brake tubing, and I slid it over top the sheet metal, and I formed it to this, and then I just tacked it in. So it gives it those little body scallops, like here has the body scallops. So I'm going to do the same on the bottom, because I left a lot lot of room back here over the slicks because this should be basically, kind of concaved in around where the fenders would bolt on. So I'll probably start back here and figure out where the fenders is going to go. Cut the body up, down, and then I'll do the same with the brake tubing. I'll split it, I'll run it up here, I'll run it over where I cut it, and then I'll mount a fender underneath it. So that'll give me my body scallops. Now what I'm going to do with these is I'm just going to put a little bit of Bondo on these things, just kind of work it in, and that way it'll still have the ridges of the body. And you probably don't really know what I'm talking about until I show you on a die cast one. As you can see the little ridges on the 32 body, and you can see the ridges that go around the wheelhouse here, and they continue along the bottom underneath the door, and then they do have a scallop up here that curves forward, and the rear one, it curves forward. I know it's yellow, you probably don't, you won't be able to clearly see it. It's a close up on the thing there. As you can see, it runs right down the body and down the trunk. So you can see that's what I did there, down the body, got the scallop in the rear, and then right down the trunk. And then I'll just join them together back here. So there's the update, guys. Like I say, as you can see, everything's coming together rather quickly. And I know I haven't posted a video in a while, but I wanted to give you guys an update on what's going on. So that's what's going on. And I haven't weighed it yet, but it's it's easy to carry, and it's pretty lightweight for having a sheet metal body. So whether I'm going to make the doors open and close, I'd like to, but I'll probably just finish it up, give it some test runs, and see how these old ashtray tires are going to hold up in the front, and see how it handles. And then we'll work on getting the thing painted. I'll probably do it yellow. Everybody says, I'll do it in primer, but like I say, I wanted to do that Milner coupe right there, and just something bright and obnoxious and that can be seen, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, guys, that's the update for now. Any questions, comments, hit me up. Like, share, subscribe, show your friends, and I'm going to continue on with the build. And one thing I do want to do is, you can see the Hemi has that cross ram intake on it. They had a carburetor sitting here and a carburetor sitting there. I think this thing deserves what they called a tunnel ram. Now a tunnel ram is, hold on a second, sorry for the camera thing, I'll show you what a tunnel ram is. I have a gigantic picture in my house. Now that's a tunnel ram right there. It's just a photo that was in a local parts store when they remodeled. They took the poster off the wall, and that's a Ford motor in there with a tunnel ram. So that's what I'm going to do right there. I'm going to build the tunnel ram, put the carbs on the top, so it sticks over the cow. As you can see, it sits over the cow, so it gives a lot of scary looking motor there. So anywho, that's my segment for today. Hope you liked it. And like I say, any questions, hit me up. Even questions on my other videos. I'm getting a lot of questions on videos I put up over a year ago. And I try to answer all the questions. Okay? I try to, respond to like every comment. But when I get bombarded with them, it takes me a while to catch up. So, anyways, guys, have a good weekend. I'll catch you later. Adios.